Alright, this will be my WoW-Mania 3.3.5a guide to Spellhance. The information that I will be sharing in this video will be the results of hours and hours of simulation, dummy hitting, and of course real gameplay. I'm not saying that this is all concrete though, because this spec is still being theory crafted pretty hard. There are still things that I find out that boost my DPS by a lot. So if you find something that boosts your DPS that I didn't say on the video, please comment it down below so I can know it too. I always strive for perfection. Yeah, let's get into it. So why should you play a Spellhance other than it being fucking awesome, of course? Yeah, well, jokes aside, you do have really good utility. You have Bloodlust, you have Totems, you have raid-wide 10% AP buff, your off-heals are pretty damn good, you can do chain heals on your Maelstrom procs to help out your healers. The damage is top tier if you're pay to win. The playstyle is very fun. There are basically no dead GCDs, you are always spamming something. It's very technical compared to other 3.3.5a melee classes. The spec is also not fully theory crafted yet, so maybe you're into that. That is also a bonus, in my book at least. Why should you not play a Spellhance? You're basically in a wheelchair. You're like a DK. You have no mobility other than your wolves, and yeah, I use those for DPS. Of course, you have nitro boots from your engineering, but I'll get into that later. The playstyle can be also very overwhelming if you like something more chill, if you don't like spamming all the time. And it requires pay to win to perform at its best, so that's also a downside. Alright, let's get into talents. So my spec is pretty basic enhancement spec, nothing really crazy about it. There's no hybrid shit or shit like that. I don't take improved totems because 99% of the time there's gonna be a DK in your group. Totems are more of a backup for when you don't have a DK, so I don't think spending talent points, 5 talent points on those is worth it. No improved Storm Strike, it only returns the base mana. So basically before modifiers, before gear modifiers, before talent modifiers, that's the amount of mana you get back, and it's not worth it. If you're having mana problems, then you should probably drop improved Fire Nova and go into Reverberation. So when you're lower geared, probably drop improved Fire Nova. Is there anything else to say? Nope. For glyphs, we go Fire Nova Glyph, Storm Strike Glyph, and Elemental Totem, Fire Elemental Totem Glyph. For Fire Nova, it hits hard, like even in single target. It's your basically, if you already have Storm Strike up, you're gonna Fire Nova. That's pretty much the priority for that. Yeah, so the lower CD you have, the more AoE and more single target you will do. For Storm Strike, pretty normal enhancement shit again. This just happens to be the best performing glyph that I have found. It boosts your nature damage, earth shock, and lightning bolt and chain lightning. For Glyph of the Fire Elemental, this is actually a new find for me. Basically, when you snapshot your pets, they are going to do a lot of damage. Like in ICC, my Fire Elemental can smack 10Ks easy. So you are basically cutting your 10-minute cooldown in half, meaning on longer fights you can summon it twice, and in ICC you have this up for every boss, basically, with the Glyph. If you go with another Glyph, it basically means you will only have Fire Elemental for like half of the fights in ICC, and that will lower your overall damage a lot. Alright, let's talk about stats. The stats priority is expertise and hit cap, haste, crit, AP. For hit rating, you want to go for spell hit cap, which is 14% plus raid buffs. If you're Alliance, you can drop 1% of hit from this. Hit is still very valuable past 14%, as Enha heavily relies on hitting auto attacks. Auto attack is still your top damage, even as Spellhance. Your second top damage is Flame Tongue, which relies on you hitting auto attacks, and your third damage is Lightning Bolt. And Maelstrom procs also relies on you hitting auto attacks. So hit rating is very, very valuable, even past spell hit cap, but haste gets past hit rating after the spell hit cap. Yep. For reference, my current stat values are hit rating is 2.05 and haste rating is 2.25, so there's not much of a difference. That's like 10% difference only in stat value. Let's compare it to agility, for example. Agility is only 1.1, so yeah. Yeah, so after you hit 14% spell hit, you start stacking haste as much as possible. That's your highest yielding stat. For crit, you basically get crit capped from just having gear. Wrath of the Lich King gearing is basically everything gives you crit. It's unavoidable, especially as an agility user. Armor penetration, avoid it. There's no reason to take it. It's armor penetration is a stat value is 1.01, so haste gets past it a lot. So does hit rating. So does crit before crit cap. Of course, you still take STS. The proc is just too good to pass. For spell power items, I will explain that in the best in slot category. Alright, let's get racist. So, which race should you play your Spellhance at? In my honest opinion, the only unviable race is Tauren. My favorite one is Orc, because of the expertise you get from using Axes. It's pretty painful to hit your expertise cap without the racial, especially on best in slot gear. Troll, also a very good option. Its racial is actually better than Orc's damage wise, but you lose that expertise. And for Alliance, of course, the only option is the Goats. It's the 1% hit is still good, but I mean, if there was another option, you could get someone else to have it. But yeah. Alright, so professions. Engineering is pretty much mandatory. You're in a wheelchair without it. You need nitro boosts. There's no getting around that. The only other mobility you have is your wolf sprint, but I'd rather use my wolves and snapshot them for more DPS than strategically try to use them for my movement. Also, you get hyperspeed accelerators for your gloves, which is very competitive compared to the other options. You get 68 static haste if you pop it on CD, meaning having a 340 haste on 20% uptime means it's 6 to 8 static. Also, you can it lines up very well with your Shamanistic Rage, so you can have them up every time at the same time. Also, you can snapshot your pets with it. So, yeah, it's very good. For the other one, I recommend either jewel crafting or blacksmith. You can choose between those. I go for jewel crafting myself. Alright, so let's get into gemming. I went over a bit of this in the stats, but I will explain it. So what you want to be doing is gemming expertise on reds to hit expertise cap. Then you go haste on blues and yellows, and you take 1 nightmare tier to activate your meta gem, which is 21 agility, 3 increased critical damage. I've tried the other meta gem that requires 2 blue gems and gives you crit rating instead of agility, but it seems lower. Yeah, so basically just hit your hit cap or 14% his spell hit, and after that you just gem as much haste as you can. There's no need to go for AP. It's not as good as haste. Yeah. Alright, let's get into best in slot. I will first explain why you should take some spell power items. The rule of thumb is, if there's a slot and the only melee stat option is going with crit ARP, or there is no item that provides melee stats that has either hit or haste, then you go for a spell power item. Otherwise, going with full melee stats is better. I have simulated a lot of scenarios, like taking more spell power items, enchanting spell power, gemming spell power, shit like that, and it always comes out as waivers. So yeah, so let's get into the biz list. I'm pretty much wearing biz. Only my trinkets are not heroic version. Also, Hercumi War token is better than STS on fights that you can have 100% uptime. So, for example, if you're on Festergut and you know you can keep Hercumi War token up 100% of the time, it's better than normal STS, and ties with heroic STS. But these trinkets are better if you can manage to snapshot your pets with them, with their procs. So yeah, Yukio tier 10 heroic helm, amulet of the silent eulogy. The Sindragosa's necklace is not that much worse, but it's not as good. It still does give you haste, but the armor penetration kinda kills it. Tier 10 heroic shoulders. Shadow Vault Slayer's cloak. As you see, there's haste on it, so it's better than the spell power one. Tier 10 heroic chest. Umbrage armbands, haste again. Maniac's Hackers of Light. On Sims, these pull about 2k more DPS than going with Havoc Skulls. Yeah, so pay to win. Bizuri War token. Bizuri's totem was Shattered Eyes. Anup R's Stalker Gloves. Haste again. Split Shade Belt. There is only an armor penetration 377 replacement for this, for melee, so you go spell power here. Tier 10 heroic legs. ICC boots, hit rating. The RS25 heroic boots are good, but not as good because they have armor penetration. Ashen Band of Endless Vengeance. Band of the Bone Colossus. This is basically optimal stats for our build, and then STS and CTS. And as I say, you can replace one of these with Hercum. It is also very, 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 very good. Okay, so now I will be explaining you the opener. For Spellhance, snapshotting your pets in your opener is the most important part. That means you're going to have to make weak arrows or equivalent to those for your procs like trinkets, etc. To track them, and cast your pets once you have procced everything and you have as high stats as possible. Basically, your pets scale from your stats or your current stats. So the more stats you have at the moment you cast them, the more damage and the more stats they will have. Yeah, so your opener is you flame shock and get your totem going as fast as possible. Then you start doing the normal rotation for so long that your stuff procs. Then you use hyperspeed accelerators, and you spawn your pets. If you have another shaman in your raid group, you save your bloodlust for your pets, meaning someone else will cast bloodlust, hopefully a resto shami, and then after you have spawned your pets, you bloodlust again, meaning they will benefit from 2 bloodlusts because they benefit from your attack speed and they benefit from the bloodlust that you cast for them. Pre-fight, you of course have your lightning shield up, flame tongue weapon on both weapons. Put down your totems, of course, and yeah, then you just start with your normal rotation until everything is procced and you spawn your pets. Prepot is, of course, you prepot. For Shamanistic Rage, when you have the tier 10 bonus, it doesn't actually affect your pets, the damage that you get, because it doesn't modify your attack power or spell power. That being the 12% additional damage. It only attacks the damage you do, not your totems or pets. So you should cast this after you have summoned your pets, or at the start of the fight. I haven't really come to a concrete solution which is better. But anyway, so what you do is prepot, flame shock. We got nice procs there, and yeah, we are gonna cast our pets and go ham. As you can see, even unbuffed, my fire elemental is smacking 6k, which is nuts. Yeah, so that's the opener. Okay, so spell priority. If you want to make it easy, I will link to this add-on that I have modified for Spellhance in my description. You can download it there. Basically, it just shows you what to use next, and I have modified it to take into account that you are a Spellhance. The spell priority is lightning bolt with 5 maelstroms, flame shock, storm strike if you don't have a debuff up, earth shock if you have a storm strike debuff up, magma totem if it's running out or has run out, fire nova, lightning shield if it has run out, lava lash, storm strike if you already have a debuff up, magma totem and lightning shield. You'd refresh those if you don't have anything to press, but with Fire Nova, Glyph and Spect, you most likely will not get that chance. Yeah, so the easiest way to learn this is using this add-on, but if you don't want to, I will probably put the spell priority also in my description for you to check it out in writing. Alright, so let's get into positioning. So, of course, as a melee, your highest priority should be being next to an enemy and hitting it. Uptime is how I usually top damage meters, at least that's for me. If you are forced to move and cannot be close to an enemy, you can do Fire Nova, Shocks, Maelstroms. You can even hard cast Lightning Bolt if you want. It still does like decent damage, even if you are not LA. Anyway, for mobility, you have Nitro Boots, of course, and Wolf Sprint. I don't like to save my Wolf Sprint for mobility uses. I prefer using Wolves as only damage, but it's always an option if you happen to have them up at the time when you have to move. Nitro Boosts have been quite enough for me, but that is more personal playstyle questions. Yeah, you see what feels good, you use that. Okay, let's get into macros and tips and tricks. This is my shock macro. It basically does one flame shock, then there were 2 earth shocks in a sequence, and it resets when you change target. I'd prefer to cast them from their own spells, but as you can see, my bars are quite full and I see BA doing more binds. My wolf macro, it casts feral spirits, it commands an attack, it casts the sprint, and it stuns the target. You have to basically spam this button to do this all. If you just press it once, they just get summoned. If you press it again, you get the sprint and they should stun. I think they already did. And you can change target. Easy peasy. For my Shamanistic Rage, I have Blood Fury and my Gloves enchant bound macroed into that. For my Flame Nova macro, I have Magma Totem and Fire Nova on the same button. Basically, if I do a modifier shift, my Fire Nova change it into Magma Totem, so I don't have to bind them separate keybinds. I think that's pretty much it for the macros. A mana saving trick, if you want to, or if you're a lower gear, or if you're doing like Dreamwalker, etc., and off healing, you can actually change to Wind Fury for when you pop your Shamanistic Rage and get more mana back that way, and then just change back to Flame Tongue. Also, you can have like a separate weapon for that in your bags and just equip it when you want to have more mana, and yeah, pretty easy. Yeah, the Bloodlust trick for the snapshot. So what you do is you wait for someone else to pop a Bloodlust and summon your pets, and then you Bloodlust for your pets. Yeah, so thanks for watching my video. I hope this helped you. As I said before, please, if you find out anything about this spec, please comment down below. I'd love to hear what you come up with. Doing things, many people doing the same thing is always better than one guy doing it on his own, because it's just basically putting more time into something It's exponential when more people are doing it. I will link all my resources like simulation software and add-ons in my description. Feel free to use those. Yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.